Welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Today I have a collection update. So in the 90s, I mostly collect Griffey, then Thomas, and then some Jeter cards, right? I don't do a ton of Jeter cards because, again, between the three of them, Jeter's kind of expensive. He has a big collector following. In some cases, his cards may even bring higher than Griffey, depending on what the card is. So it's very interesting to see that happen sometimes. Now, I only have one Jeter card to start this day out with, but it's a pretty cool one. It's a set and a card you don't see that often. It is the 1999, I believe, 99 Pacific Cooperstown bound bronze. And these cards are just really cool looking. I mean, they have the kind of embossed foil here. They are 1 in 361 packs, which I always find it interesting with Pacific. They have these really strange odds, whereas most companies have it one per box. They'll do it like one per 20 boxes plus one pack. So if you don't get it, they'll be like, well, I mean, you open 20 boxes and it's in that next pack, it's in your 21st box. So it's a very interesting thing they did so that they wouldn't get as much in trouble for not hitting the odds. There is parallels of this card. There is a version that's got numbered out of 20, and there's a 101. So it's a really rare card. You don't see it out that often. You don't see these out in the wild very often. Sorry, the little glare there. I want to kind of show you the foilness of the card. So yeah, it's just a really cool Pacific card. And again, being Pacific, even though it's super rare, it is really pretty cheap comparatively to other cards you'd find in the 90s that had a similar rarity. Kind of cool design. It is kind of nice looking. Next up is my first Frank Thomas card. It is from 97's the Mint, Pinnacle Mint. This is just the bronze base card. So you got, I think in the pack, you get a couple of these. You got one of these. You got two cards with holes in them that you put coins in. Then you got two bronze coins or a silver coin or gold coin. It was, up to, the idea was you either get a bronze, silver, or gold coin to put in that little hole. There was gold plated coins. There was solid silver coins. And then there was solid gold coins. The good thing is that the normal coins were like brass and they kind of look goldish, but the gold say gold on them, gold plated or something on the back. The silver coins say, fine silver. So you can tell the difference when you get the coins and you see them in hand. There's a silver and bronze, there's a silver and gold variation of this kind of insert here, kind of like different, levels like finest. Again, the base cards have holes in them, and then you get one bronze, or silver or gold per pack. The golds are like 1 in 48. Silver's like 1 in 24. So it's kind of like that. I mean, they're okay. That little logo thing. I mean, it's just not too special. But you see later on, I do have one with a coin in it. So that's kind of cool. Next up is a really cool, probably one of my favorite non-2000 or non-90s refractors that were made were the 2001 Topps Chrome Retro Fractors. They are really cool because they have the paperback, and obviously Series 2 had, I think they were gold. Series 1, they still had the kind of, the greenish blue border here. So that's Frank Thomas's Series 1. They're 1 in 12, but there's like over 300 cards in the base set. So good luck trying to get the Frank Thomas out of a box. That's going to be really tough. And that's the one thing about it. It's like, these cards come up and they'll sell for pretty cheap. And then it's hard as heck to try to pull something like this out of a box in modern day. So cool card from a set that everyone busted trying to get, the Ichiro and Pujols cards back in the day. So, they're fun. Series 2 is insane. Some of the cool cards that are in there. So And there's some really rare cards in 2001 Bowman Chrome. There's like refractors out of 5, the gold moment cards. There's just a lot of cool stuff in 2001. I really want to open a 2001 box just because it's how cool the product is. But obviously, with the rookie cards in there, it's super expensive. So next up, I think this is 2001. Sorry, it's 2001 Bowman Chrome. Sorry, Bowman's Best. Now, this is where they broke the product because Topps had this stupid idea that, instead of giving people the thing that they've always loved since 93, which is refractors, they made every card in this set a refractor. So here's an Impact Player, a really cool die cut refractor card, right? You would think like that's a cool card. Like it's awesome. Like everyone's going to want something like this because it's so cool. And the refractor version must be like a 1 in 24 or 1 in 48. Nope. There is no regular version of this card. Every card is a refractor. And so this is 1 in 7 packs. So it's just, they didn't do the thing that we want them to do, which is make parallels with refractors. And so, yeah. So it's just a bad idea. Just a bad idea. I think they gave it up. I think maybe this is the only year, maybe 2 years in a row they did this, but they finally figured out that people want refractors to be rare and hard to get, or at least harder to get than a base card. But yeah, even the base set that year was every card was a refractor. There was no insert refractors. That's just not a good idea. Next up is 97. I believe 97. I always get the years wrong here. Yeah, 97 EX 2000. This is the All or Nothing. Frank Thomas, and I was always shocked when I don't own cards like this because I love these kind of sets. This is definitely one I want to get maybe the full set of, just to put in my book that I'm building. I might show it off one of these days. I've been putting all my complete sets of inserts into the binders or the books that allow you to use top loaders, and they look really nice. And I've got some cool sets in there. This is the Frank Thomas. This set's really cool because there's a gold variation to this card that no one really knows what it was, if it was a misprint or they just a secret parallel. The common consensus that I've heard is that they just ran out of this foil and they just used gold foil instead. And instead of waiting to buy more of this color, they just use all gold, and that's how you get the variation. But no one really knows. It's been a long time, and there's probably nobody who really cares enough to find an employee who made the cards to ask. They're 1 in 20 packs from a pretty expensive product. So they were kind of the mid-tier insert, but they're really cool. The die cuts, the acetate. It's always been one of my favorite cheaper type inserts from the 90s to collect. There's cut above in this set as well, along with the credentials, but the cut above overshadows the set so much that people kind of forget about it, but it's still a really cool set. Going into, let's say, a set that doesn't have an insert ratio, but it's a really cool, I think this is like one of the underrated sets of the 90s. This is from 96 Leaf Limited, the Black Lumberjack cards. They're numbered out of 500. So for that time period, it was super rare. And they just look really, really awesome. I think they're kind of hard to find in high grade. You can see they're numbered out of 500 on the back. Just an overall, just a great design. Like they did a great job. So you can look like, when we look at the birth of modern inserts and the kind of the growth in the hobby, man, that jump between again, some of the Donruss Elite cards were amazing, especially with that 92, 93 year. But the evolution in cards when, you have cards like this getting made in 96 and then die cuts and then the refractors took. It's just like, this is the evolution of the hobby right here. This is what made people really start to actually pay real attention to modern cards when you saw just cool cards like this. They're not super, super rare, but back in the day, this would have been hard to get. Out of 500 was big. And so, I just love that card. And it's just not super expensive. It's just fun to get and just look at. And just how cool cards were back in the 90s. And then my last Frank Thomas card, I think it's a pretty cool card. Being a refractor guy, it's a 2000 Chrome Power Player refractor. They did really good. This is kind of like almost like the end of an era for Topps. Like 2000 still had really cool refractors. 2001 with the retro refractors were cool too. So it's like, after 2002 ish, and again, Bowman's Best went into that whole like no, everything was a refractor pit phase. I think the quality of the refractors kind of went down to some extent. You had some years where they popped back up and look really cool, but in general, you never had this depth of the etching and just these different colors and the swirls and the patterns. So this was 1 in 40 packs, so pretty rare, but not too rare. You could get a chance of getting one of these in a box, and they were just nice looking. This is a Gem Mint 10, so pretty rare to get those nowadays. All right. Now, moving on to Griffey. I have a lot of Griffey, so but I'm going to start with a card that's not from the 90s. And if you've been on my Instagram at all, I've been posting a few modern cards. I don't ignore modern cards. I just am very selective. If I buy something from the modern era, this card really caught my eye. This whole set is just, it's one of the better things Topps has done. Topps has actually made a lot of nice cards. The hidden gems, I think from last year, the cards that looked at, they had little diamonds everywhere on them. Like some of the Topps Chrome refractors they've come up with are just really nice looking. So I will say that, I've talked about a lot that cards from the modern era are really lazy and kind of phoned in. And that's true for a lot of them, especially Panini cards. But Topps has been doing some really nice stuff. And this set is one of the cooler, I think, autograph sets they made at Griffey in a long time. The Celebration of Griffey cards. So there's a whole series of cards in this series. This is a King Griffey Jr. What's that, 4 or 14? So like in every one of them is numbered to 10. So in terms of the autograph, there's base cards, but the autographs are all on card. And they have different photos of Griffey from all his years. They have him as a Red. They have him as a Mariner. They have him as a White Sox. And it's just cool to have cards like that. They're obviously hard to get. I wanted to get a Mariners Griffey auto, and I did. And I love this card. I just think it's cool. It's throwback. It's retro. It's also nice. Well done. Perfect design. Like there is nothing wrong with this from a modern design perspective. Perfect retro throwback card. It's not a reprint of a card. It's a a throwback design, but on a new type of insert set. And that's perfect. Like that's what Topps should be doing. And this is really, really just a cool card. And, I've been really hoping to eventually one day to get a Dynasty Griffey auto just to have one, a cool patch auto Griffey from the modern era and just to have one. But this card really was a lot cheaper than that. So it kind of scratched that itch, but man, it's a really nice looking card. And I would, anyone, and obviously they've made enough of variations you can buy one of these because even though they're 1 in 10, they made so many different versions that they're not quite as hard to get as like something that's like only got 10 cards total, and like which you would never be able to touch. But you may not be able to get a Mariners. You might be able to get a Reds or a White Sox version because, the Mariner cards are what kind of the guys chase in the Griffey world. So they're probably going to be a little bit tougher, but, don't regret that purchase at all. That was probably the coolest modern Griffey I bought in forever. Probably the longest time probably decades that's of a modern Griffey card. That was the coolest one I bought. Okay. Going back to the 90s. I showed the Frank Thomas. Now here is the Griffey version of that same card. The bronze version. Again, they're 1 per pack. So not too special, but I didn't have it. And then here is the brass coin with the in the card. So again, this is not the gold because it would have said, gold right here. So this is the brass. Kind of looks like gold, but they did stamp the gold cards with something so you could tell them apart. So it's the brass card. So, not expensive cards there, but just kind of fun. As a Griffey collector, sometimes it's fun just to get those hard or cards you don't see that often in the wild because they're kind of weird. And a lot of people don't like to run around with coins. So I went and grabbed it. And obviously getting the silver and the gold plated would be great to get, but not high on my list yet, to go and chase down. A lot of other cards. This is actually a pretty cool card. I know people didn't like the split screen cards because the way they work, you either got one refractor here, one refractor here, or two refractors. So the two refractor version is much harder to get than the one refractor version. This is Griffey and A-Rod, and this is actually a 1 in 82 packs insert, according to Baseball Cardpedia. So pretty tough, 1 in 82, but no one likes the set too much. I mean, A-Rod being on the card might hurt it somewhat. From a pure Griffey collector perspective, I collect 90s Griffey's refractors. I'm putting the whole set together. I'm trying to, so I have to have it. But it's still, I think it's a cool looking card, and it's very shiny, and it's still a nice looking card, and it's kind of rare, but it doesn't cost that much, so it's a card you can kind of pick up on the budget. Now here's a 1999 Picture Perfect Griffey. This is just like a cheapy base card. They're 1 in 8. Again, I grabbed it. I think actually what happened here was I made a trade with some guys at the Albany show, and then they a lot of times it's just like, hey, here's some cards for you, and this was kind of a throwing type card. So, but I didn't have it, so it's 1 in 8 packs, but it's still a Griffey card from the 90s I didn't have. Next up is a interesting card. This is a pretty, for me, like I didn't know much about this set. 2001, I wasn't really buying a lot of modern cards. But this is the 2001 SP Game Used Griffey jersey card. And you see this card quite a bit. And I'm like, I don't know why. Like jersey cards in 2001 were kind of rare. Actually, not in this set. There was one of these in every, not the Griffey, but one jersey card in every pack. In this card, actually, there's 3 Griffies in the set. There's a home Reds jersey, a away Reds jersey, and a Mariners jersey. And the Mariners jersey is actually a double print. So they made more of these than in any other version of Griffey. So it's not a super rare card. Again, you got one jersey card in a pack. So I think it's just made this set kind of like commodity, jersey cards. But still an early Griffey card, and it still shows him as a Mariner, which is cool. But it's not a card that will break your bank. So if you're looking for a really cheap Griffey jersey card that's pretty old, that's a great one to grab because, again, not too expensive. Now, here is 2002 Bowman Chrome card. Now, this card is interesting because, again, it's from that era of Bowman Chrome where everything's a refractor. This is a Griffey throwback refractor. And I just kind of like it just because it's like so shiny, and it is different than other Griffeys, but you can see in 2002, the depth of the etching was starting to get lower and lower. Like and the card is more flat, almost like not even what I call like a, just a foil type surface. And that's what happened to a lot of refractors. They went from this really deep etching and kind of 3D appearance to kind of a flat surface. Almost like foil versus being a traditional refractor. So you kind of see that transition here. You see some etching here along the jersey, but it's definitely not like it was in the day. These were 1 in 18 packs in 2002, so kind of mid-tier. Pretty big set though, so getting a Griffey will still be hard. This is 1998 score rookie traded, and this is the artist proof Griffey. And for people who are really, and this card has some awesome shine and depth. Look at that. I think it just looks so cool in the light. It's like 3D Griffey. And again, this is the same pattern of foil that was used on the 97 Essential Credential set. So it's kind of like a cheap, if you want a cheap version of that card or a card like it, this is the card for you. Now, these were 1 in 33, 1 in 35 packs. So they weren't overly easy to get. I mean, they were kind of tough, but they're still easy to, I think, find. From a cost perspective, they're not going to set you back hundreds of dollars. I've never thought about getting it graded, but this is that lumberjack card. I might get graded one day because they're in really good shape, and they're still somewhat rare to find. And like I said, if you find them, they're not going to break the bank, but they're not like out there every day. There's not like 50 on eBay at a time. Next up is the last of my raw cards. Again, no row insert ratio, but these were numbered out of 1,000. And they are from, again, let's see, 98. So this is 98 Donner Studio. It's the Master Strokes. I think it's well done set. The whole thing here is on canvas, like like a painter would paint the card. If I was to just design a set like this, I mean, I would have done something like here. They've done it where like, see, this part of the card is kind of like, it looks like it was sketched, and then I think they could have done that a little bit better. Had more of Griffey be kind of like transitioning into a painting or like an artwork or something. So it's from that side of it, it's just kind of it's okay, but the canvas makes it look cool, and they're numbered out of 1,000. So from that time period, it was pretty good. Not my favorite Donner Studio card. I mean, some of the the stained glass cards, and there's some other cards that are kind of cooler, but it's a good card. It's just kind of a a card that sells pretty good, but you can find it. Even numbered out of 1,000, you can kind of see it pop up here and there. Now, I do think that these grade well, so like they would be something that you could probably cross over and get graded and have a good shot at a 10. Griffey 90's 10, that would still be pretty cool. Okay, moving on to graded Griffey. So these are all going to be graded. It's into my raw. First up is a 2000 Ionics, and this is just a base card. It was going really cheap on eBay. It's a PSA 10. It's in PSA's new holder, which is just a chunk. I mean, that thing it's chunky. You can feel it. Yeah, and it's got like no cracks in this one, but it's a PSA 10, Ionics, which is kind of hard to get because you got foil a lot of places, and it's easy to scratch, easy to for these cards to be damaged. So it's just it's a cool set, PSA 10. I grabbed it for cheap. It's just like a cruise eBay for Griffey cards, and I see something that I think looks cool and it's super cheap, I'll just grab it. Next up is a Donner's limited exposure Griffey. This is the counterparts. There's a couple other insert sets. There's a Star Factor, which is really rare. Supposedly the Star Factors are like numbered out of, or only had 30 printed. One of those like kind of like Mirror Golds, which had a stated print run of 30, but weren't numbered. So you gotta take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. These were exactly Donner's response to Finest. It's a very shiny refractor metallized card. So it's their refractor. They call it limited exposures, which is interesting because this term has never came back to the hobby. The limited exposures. You got prism, and then you got refractors, but limited exposures or exposures just kind of went away. Again, this is the counterparts card. There's also another one that has like a veteran and a star, and I think it's called Star Power, and those have a rookie and a vet on each side, and that's like the mid-tier version of rarity. This is the easiest. That double-sided Star Power card is like the mid-tier, and then Star Factor, which is the hardest to get a limited exposure of. So I don't have the Star Factor Griffey. I wish I did. It's a cool looking card. This is like my second counterparts, but this is an upgrade. My last one I think was a PSA 8, so kind of an upgrade on a card that actually sells pretty cheap. So next is a 93 Pinnacle Club Home Run Club. This is from a box set. They're not hard to find, but graded a 10, and I like this set, and I love Dufects. So cool to see some Dufects. And that 93 wasn't early. Like, if you go back to Dufects, I believe there may have been a set in 92, but I thought the 93 Select, and I kind of think it is. The 93 Select set had the first Dufects cards ever put into packs. There may have been a box set or something earlier than 93, but that was the first Dufects set that was in packs. And then they came out with some box sets in 93 as well. And that was one of them. Dufects is everywhere. It was like the technology that Pinnacle really went with as a kind of response to refractors. Like I said, the counterpart set was 97 Finest. Remember, 97 Finest had the tiered, inserts, the gold, silver, and bronze. So then they did their counterparts, star power, star factor, convoluted, just like Leaf materials turned into. But everyone was kind of like, keeping up with each other. And this is kind of Dufex was, again, Pinnacle's answer to refractors. Speaking of refractors, 99 Topps Chrome, weak leaders. Again, really cool, very shiny. And again, this is not an insert card. This is a base card. Sometimes it's hard with Topps because some years they may have sets like League Leaders, a very similar name, be an insert, and some years are just part of the set. But this is part of the set. So it's a PSA 9, 1 in 12, like a lot of refractors were in the day. But I needed it for my set of refractors, and so I grabbed it. Just like this one from 1996. So I've always hated how they label these. This is not from Bowman's Best. Okay, it's a Bowman's Best preview refractor, that's true. But the set it was issued in was Bowman. So this is an insert in Bowman. So I should say 1996 Bowman, King Griffey Jr. Bowman's Best preview. That's how it should be labeled. So I just don't like how they label these because it was not inserted in Bowman's Best. It was inserted in Bowman. They were 1 in 24 packs. So that's why Bowman Best Preview, number 30. This gets a lot of people. They don't really understand, like, what's rare. Like, even though this card is probably rarer than a regular refractor from that set in terms of just odds, like this is 1 in 24. But, there's only like 20 or 30, these cards in the set. Generally, versus like a traditional refractor from this product would have been like 1 in like 300 cards, so or 400 cards. So it's like much easier to get the Griffey, even though it's in a set that has like a higher or harder odds. It's like, and then people get confused, and then they pay a lot for this card, not knowing that it's not really the parallel, it's really just an insert. So yeah, my little soapboxy rant there on that card. It's not the fact that cards fault, it's just people sometimes try to fool you in thinking that the preview cards are as rare as the actual parallels from the set. All right, next up is a really weird set, which is 2000 Skybox Dominion. They had a technology, this almost like a Dufexy, like 3D looking effect on some cards, but it was only like in 1 year they had it, and they went and like it was never really caught on. But this Eye on October has like 3 versions. One version's like this, the next version I think is shiny, and then the other version has that kind of like fish-eyed, weird looking finish that is super rare. They're like numbered like to the player's jersey number, so they're numbered out of 24 for Griffey. So that's a tough card. This is like 1 in 24 packs. The shiny one is like 1 in 240, and then the other one is like super limited. So there's 3 versions of this card. I have 1 version. I might get the other version, the 1 in 240, but they're not really popular yet. I know the numbered one, for Griffey collectors, because it's low numbered, is popular, but it's a 2000s product from a weird set that not a lot of people collected, and it really kind of went away fast. So it had no real staying power. So that technology and the set itself has just never been popular. So this just goes to show you, like, you can have a 1 in 24, but if it's from a set that no one cares about and it's not really what people like in rare sets like that, it'll sell, but it's like nobody's really going like, I gotta have that card. That's gonna make my Griffey collection complete, is having that one in that super low printed Skybox Dominion Eye on October card. So just how it goes. Cards have to look nice and be popular to get to that ultimate level. Next up is a 96 Bowman's Best. Now again, this is like a couple months of card buying and collecting, some shows mixed in, so just showing off everything. So but this is, again, I put together the refractor set of Griffey. This is the refractor. So there's 3 versions. There's the base, the refractor, the atomic. And this is numbered out of 70, it looks like 76. Can't read my own handwriting. Or 96, something like that. 1 in 96. Like cards like this is why it's so weird. That's why I like putting the odds on them, because a lot of people just see this card and it's like a $15 Griffey card or something, $20 Griffey card. Well, I get it that it's got Ben Grieve on it, it's got Tony Gwynn and Vlad on the back. So it's got 3 Hall of Famers, but it's just a card that when you put multiple players on a Griffey card, it makes it less desirable in most cases. So, but it's still kind of hard to find. So I need it for my set, so I grabbed it. I love this card here, this 99 all etch card, all Topps mystery finest refractor. It's a great looking design, man. They did a good job on this set. This was in Topps, so this was an insert in Topps. And I think they made some really nice looking mystery refractor cards back in the day. I think a lot of people sleep on them. They don't sell as much as the regular chrome or finest inserts a lot of times. And this is 1 in 144 packs, so it's super rare. So yeah, in a PSA 10. So I grabbed it. I'm really glad I did, and I just love that color, almost like a fade. That purple against the Griffey, blue and green colors. It's just a really sharp looking card. And being a PSA 10 never hurts. All right, next up is something weird, something I don't normally do, which is buy doubles. And I'm really shocked that I bought this card, honestly, because I don't try to buy doubles. I'm not in this thing to really flip cards. So like if I have doubles, it's like just kind of to me a waste of buying, unless something if I see something sell super duper cheap and I know I can flip it or trade it for other Griffey cards, I'll do that. I'm not above it, but in general, I don't buy doubles just to buy doubles. I bought this card here. So on my channel, I like the Leaf fractal cards, and this is the material set from 98, which the difference in, those sets were they had different materials versus colors. So this is the wood, and the wood cards are numbered out of 250. There it is on the back. And, I love the set. I saw this card come up. It's a PSA 10, which is super difficult on a card. And I didn't really remember that I had already bought one of these cards. And there is the other card, and my other card's a PSA 8. Now, the reason I'm showing this to you is because the cards look really different. Look how much darker that PSA 8 Griffey is to the PSA 10. So I don't know if it's just printing variations. If they just, because they're using some different kind of materials, that there's some natural variation. But it's hard to ignore that PSA 8 is much darker in color than this PSA 10. And I don't know if that was on purpose or whatever, but it's just very noticeable. So, but I didn't mean to buy the 10. I wouldn't have normally bought a double, but it was, just one of those cool cards that came up, and I just got into thinking like I didn't have the card. And that was my recollection. I don't own this card. And it highlights the fact that I don't have my database of cards up to date. I don't have a list of most of my Griffey cards. I have the refractor list, and that's updated and ready to go. And I constantly check cards off of it, but I don't have it for anything else, because obviously a Griffey master checklist from the 90s would be a billion cards, or I forget how many it is. I'm sure someone has that number around their head, like how many, 100 or 2,000 Griffey cards from the 90s. I'm just making that up. I don't know how many there is. But I just don't keep it off the top of my head. So, that was just kind of like a mistake. But I got to get a little bit better, because, again, wasting resources on cards I already have is not great, because then you have to sell them, and it's a hassle if you don't want doubles. And last but not least, this 97 Donner's Preferred Stairmaster. Donner's Preferred has a huge place in my heart. These were number out of 1,500. I've opened quite a bit of 97 Preferred. Back in 97, I opened it because, again, you got to remember, Topps finest silver, bronze, golds. that was their version of it. And there were silver, bronze, gold, and platinums. I mean, they had even a higher tier. And I love that 97 preferred set. I love everything about it. I love the base cards. I love the inserts. I love the precious metal cards that came in 97. And I've opened quite a bit of it. And I will tell you this, I have never hit a precious metal or a Stairmaster out of boxes of that product I've opened. So it's a tough set. It's hard to hit things. There's some really rare stuff. And then the die cuts, the platinum die cuts are hard to hit. So it's like they don't sell as well as you would think, being for the rare some of these cards are. Again, these are numbered out of 1500. But they had great design. And so to me, it's like a great thing when sometimes things are really well designed, but really cheap. So you can actually get some of these cool cards and not pay a ton of money. So that was my last Griffey card of this update. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely had a lot of cards here. As I'm going to the National, I'm trying to clean up the collection, get things put away, get ready for the National. And this was kind of like my last big mail day for Griffey that I'm going to be doing. I don't have a lot of cards in the mail coming. I've got cards I got to sort for my National, my PSA order that I'm going to drop off there. So I've got that I'm setting up. So I've got tons of cards, and you just saw a couple cards in here. I might actually submit, like that Lumberjack card I might submit just because I love that card. So I may submit some of these cards, some of the raw cards here as well. So I got some sorting to do. I've got some cards to kind of figure out, do I want to submit to PSA? Do I want to pop out of some holders, like some SGC holders, and crossover? So a lot of stuff to think about. I might do a video on that if you guys are interested in seeing what I'm taking to with me to the National, both from a trade perspective and from a grading perspective. If you guys want to see that, I'll do that. If not, I know some of those videos people don't like. They only want to see you open cards or get a mail day. They don't want to see you, talk about cards you already own or what you're going to get graded. They want to see what happens after you get them graded. So I get that. But hope you guys had a great day, and I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.